Welcome back to Cozy Pet Journeys, where we share the most touching and inspiring stories from the world of our pets. Once upon a time, in a humble little cottage, lived a loving mother cat and her two precious sons, Mew and Moy. Their life was simple, but filled with immense love, as their mother worked hard knitting sweaters to keep them fed daily. Mew was the older brother, always curious and eager to learn the family craft, watching his mother's hands move with grace. However, happiness is often fragile, and as winter approached, the mother's health began to decline rapidly under the weight of overwork. The brothers were terrified as they watched their strong mother become bedridden, unable to knit or even stand up on her own. The local doctor gave them devastating news, stating that she needed an urgent surgery that would cost far more than they had. Desperation filled their young hearts as they sat outside, listening to the rain and wondering how to save their beloved mother. Mew remembered his father, who had left them years ago to start a new wealthy family in a big mansion nearby. Gathering every ounce of courage, the two shivering brothers approached the grand gate, hoping their father would have mercy on them. The father emerged with his new wife, but instead of a warm embrace, he looked at his sons with cold indifference. Mew fell to his knees, begging for help to pay for the surgery, tears streaming down his face onto the cold ground. The stepmother whispered poison into the father's ear, convincing him that these children were only here to ruin their perfect reputation. With a loud clang, the heavy gates slammed shut, leaving the brothers alone in the rain, their last hope completely shattered. They returned to the hospital and offered every single penny they had saved, begging the doctor to proceed with the operation. Touched by their desperate love, the doctor agreed to try, and the brothers waited for hours in the cold, silent hallway. Every tick of the clock felt like an eternity as they prayed silently, hoping for a miracle to save their mother. Suddenly, the lights went out, and the doctor emerged with a heavy look, signaling the tragic news that no one wanted. Their world collapsed in an instant as they rushed to their mother's side, sobbing uncontrollably, realizing they were now truly orphans. The funeral was quiet and lonely, with only the two brothers standing in the rain to say their final, painful goodbyes. Returning home to grieve, they were shocked to find their father and stepmother throwing their belongings out onto the muddy street. Mew tried to stop them, but his father pushed him aside, claiming he now owned the land and the house legally. The cruel stepmother laughed coldly, ordering the heartbroken children to leave immediately so she could sell the property for a profit. With nothing but a few balls of yarn and their mother's knitting needles, Mew led his sobbing brother away from home. They walked aimlessly into the freezing winter night, leaving behind the only home and safety they had ever known or loved. As darkness fell and the temperature dropped, they found a large garbage dump on the outskirts of the city to rest. Mew worked quickly, gathering old cardboard boxes and plastic sheets to build a fragile shelter against the biting cold wind. Inside the makeshift tent, Moy shivered violently, so Mew gave up his own coat to keep his little brother warm enough. When the sun rose, Mew looked at his sleeping brother and made a silent vow to do whatever it takes to survive. He went from shop to shop asking for work, but people turned him away because he looked too small and dirty. Refusing to give up, Mew borrowed a large shovel and began clearing snow from sidewalks, hoping for a few small coins. The snow was heavy and the work was exhausting, but Mew pushed his small body to the limit for his brother. A kind woman noticed his struggle and gave him a hot loaf of bread and a few coins for his hard work. Mew ran back to the tent and shared the bread, making sure Moy ate the larger portion to regain his strength. That night, Mew took out their mother's knitting needles and began teaching Moy the skills that would eventually save their lives. Under Mew's patient guidance, Moy's clumsy fingers slowly learned the rhythm of the yarn, weaving hope into every single stitch. They spent their nights by a small fire, knitting beautiful little bags and scarves, pouring their hearts into every unique creation. The finished bags were vibrant and unique, showcasing a talent that had been passed down from their mother to her sons. The next morning, they took their handmade goods to the market, laying them out on a small cloth on the snow. However, the busy crowd ignored them, seeing only two dirty street cats instead of the beautiful art they had created. Moy felt discouraged and wanted to cry, but Mew smiled bravely, encouraging his brother to stay strong and keep hoping. Suddenly, snow began to fall heavily, threatening to ruin their wool, so Mew used his body to shield their precious work. Just then, a luxurious car pulled up nearby, and an elegant elderly gentleman stepped out, noticing the boys protecting their goods. He walked over and bent down, examining the intricate knitting patterns that were surprisingly high quality for such young creators. He picked up a bag, inspecting the stitching closely, and was amazed by the professional technique and the unique design style. He asked them about their story, and Mew politely explained how their mother had taught them before she passed away. Touched by their story and talent, the gentleman revealed he was a textile factory owner looking for skilled artisans like them. He bought every single bag they had and offered them a job at his workshop, promising food, shelter, and safety. The brothers looked at each other in disbelief, tears of joy streaming down their faces as they thanked their new benefactor. They climbed into the warm car, leaving the cold streets and their painful past behind as they drove toward a new life. The workshop was a warm, bustling place filled with colorful fabrics and happy workers who welcomed the brothers with open arms. He showed them to a clean, private room with soft beds, telling them this would be their new home from now on. That night, they bathed in hot water, ate a delicious meal, and slept soundly without fear of the freezing cold. The next morning their training began. Mew focused on creative design patterns, while Moy learned to operate the sewing machines. Mew quickly showed a natural gift for design, creating unique sketches that blended traditional styles with modern fashion trends. Moy proved to be incredibly fast and precise, turning his brother's beautiful designs into high-quality finished products with ease. The owner watched their progress with pride, often stepping in to teach them advanced techniques to refine their growing skills. Years passed, and the brothers grew into handsome, confident young men, becoming the most skilled and respected artisans in the factory. Their unique designs became a sensation, featured in luxury boutiques across the city and praised by fashion critics everywhere. One day, while walking through town, Mew saw his father and stepmother arguing bitterly in front of their deteriorating house. The mansion was falling apart, and his father looked old and defeated, revealing that their greed had led to ruin. Mew watched from a distance, realizing he no longer felt anger, but only pity for the miserable life they had chosen. He returned to the workshop and hugged his brother, sharing what he had seen and feeling grateful for their journey. Together, they decided to use their savings to buy back their mother's original cottage, reclaiming the home filled with love. They renovated the little cottage, planting fresh flowers in the garden to honor the beautiful memory of their beloved mother. In the living room, they placed a portrait of their mother, surrounding it with the first wool bags they ever made. Standing before her picture, they lit incense and promised to continue living with the kindness and strength she taught them. The workshop owner visited their restored home, smiling with pride at the two young men who had become like sons. They held a warm housewarming party, filling the room with laughter and joy, finally erasing the shadows of the past. Mew stepped out onto the porch, looking up at the starry sky, feeling his mother's warm presence watching over them. Moy joined him, and together they looked toward the horizon, ready to face a future filled with hope and promise. They continued their work at the factory, but now they also dedicated time to teaching other poor orphans valuable skills. They established a charity foundation in their mother's name, ensuring that no other child would have to suffer like they did. Mew personally handed out scholarships, seeing the spark of hope in the eyes of young kittens who needed a chance. Hearing of their success, their father watched from the shadows, tears of regret falling for the relationship he threw away. Mew spotted him but chose kindness over revenge, leaving a basket of food before quietly walking away without a word. That simple act of forgiveness broke the father's heart, leaving him sobbing in the street, overwhelmed by his own shame. Mew returned to the car, and Moy squeezed his hand, knowing that they had finally let go of the past. Life moved forward, and though they became successful businessmen, they remained humble, never forgetting where they had come from. Every winter, they organized drives to distribute warm coats and blankets to the homeless, honoring their struggle in the cold. Years turned into decades, and though their fur turned gray, the bond between the two brothers remained unbreakable and strong. Sitting by the fire, they told their life story to their grandchildren, passing on lessons of resilience, love, and forgiveness. Looking back, they realized that every hardship, from the freezing nights to the hard labor, had shaped their incredible destiny. They proved that even in the darkest of times, love and persistence can light the way to a brighter future. Mew and Moy held hands, looking at their mother's photo one last time, knowing they had made her truly proud. The camera pulls back from the warm cottage, showing the snow falling gently outside, no longer a symbol of suffering. The city lights twinkled below, a reminder that hope exists in every corner for those who are brave enough to believe. Their legacy lived on, not just in the beautiful bags they created, but in the countless lives they had touched. The children they helped grew up to be successful and kind, continuing the cycle of generosity that started with Mew. Spring returned to the land, bringing vibrant flowers and singing birds, mirroring the peace that finally filled their old hearts. Resting on a park bench, they smiled at each other, grateful for the journey that brought them from tragedy to triumph. A stray kitten wandered up to them, and Mew picked it up gently, seeing a reflection of his own past. Moy pulled a small ball of yarn from his pocket, playing with the kitten, proving that kindness is always a choice. Under the warm, golden sun, the cycle of love continued, proving that family is not just blood, but who you choose. The gentle breeze carried cherry blossom petals around them, whispering the soft lullabies their mother used to sing to them. Mew looked into the distance, his eyes telling a story of survival, reminding us all to never lose hope in tomorrow. They were thankful for everything, their mother's love, the stranger's kindness, and the strength they found within themselves to survive. As they walked toward the brilliant sunset, they knew their story would inspire generations of dreamers to never give up. Their journey stands as a timeless testament to the power of brotherhood, hard work, and the enduring human spirit. But the colors of life always return for those who wait, painting a future that is brighter than the darkest night. Hand in hand, paw in paw, they faced the world together, proving that unity is the greatest strength of all. Against the backdrop of the vast world, two small kittens stood tall, giants in their own story of survival and success. A golden leaf fell onto Mew's shoulder, a gentle reminder of the changing seasons and the beauty of life's cycles. Seeing Moy run freely like a kitten again brought a smile to Mew's face, his heart full of pure gratitude. They carved their names into an ancient tree, a permanent mark of their bond that would last as long as nature. The afternoon sun filtered through the leaves, casting a magical glow over the two brothers who had conquered the world. Standing atop the highest hill, they looked down at the city, remembering every street corner where they had once struggled. The wind blew their coats around them, but they stood firm, no longer the shivering kittens who once hid in trash. Mew turned to his brother and whispered the words they had longed to say for years. "We finally made it." Moy nodded with tears in his eyes, knowing that somewhere above the clouds, their mother was beaming with immense pride. They shouted their joy into the open sky, letting go of all the pain and embracing the freedom of success. As the screen fades to black, two bright stars twinkle in the night sky, symbolizing the eternal spirit of brotherhood. Thank you for watching this emotional journey on Cozy Pet Journeys. Please subscribe to see more stories of hope and resilience.